Right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments, because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
About 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
You guys already know why you're here. I'm going to have to go through a lot of formalities. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? Good. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it very much. Cisco here is going to talk to you about fire escape, safety, fire escape inspections, etc. I briefed him this morning on the fact that New Hampshire is a little bit different than a lot of states, whereby the state of New Hampshire has Life Safety Code 101, which is their overarching safety code that they use, but each individual jurisdiction may have different codes, building codes, different enforcement procedures, etc., and inspection procedures. So he's got a little bit of a challenge in front of him today. Hopefully you guys can get some information on fire escape safety, inspection procedures, etc., that you can take back to your communities and either enhance what you're doing already or share some of the information that you have and maybe build a program that you don't have in place currently. This is something new that we're doing here. This is the first time Cisco's been up here, and this is the first time we've hosted a seminar like this. So I'm grateful to see you guys here. We were hoping for a little bit of a larger turnout, but situations being what they are, etc., we fully understand that. What I would ask, though, is if you get some good information out of this, okay, spread it around, that this information is out there, and I'm sure that we can work with Cisco to come back and do this again if need be. If the need is there, which is definitely something we can come back and do again. That all being said, I'm going to turn it over to Cisco in a second, but I just got to do my regular Fire Academy routine of all of the procedures and policies and everything else that we have. If you guys need to have something to drink, you can go ahead and do that. You can bring it in here. We used to have rules where you didn't have anything to drink in the classrooms. You now can do that. We have all this brand new carpet, so feel free. Just don't spill anything on it. You can still get cranky. However, you can eat, drink, etc. in the classrooms again. Ladies' rooms and restrooms, men's room, right out in the hallway. You probably already know where they are. They're right out here by the lobby. If the fire alarm does go off, it is not a drill. Please exit the building, follow the exit signs. You guys can determine whatever you want to do as far as your assembly location outside, but your best bet is probably just go right back out the front door. Has everybody filled out one of the application forms this morning? Okay, that again is new policy, and I probably explained it, you already know because we talked about it a little bit beforehand. But when we have seminars and workshops that the Academy is hosting, we're not going to be doing pre-registrations unless it's required for the presenter, where they need to develop the appropriate amount of materials. So if we don't do pre-registrations, the registration forms will be here for you to fill out when you get here. So everybody just fill one of those things out. This is a craft program, and it will be on your transcript here at the Academy. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to turn it over to Cisco. Have a great time. Learn a whole bunch of stuff. And again, if you get some good, solid information out of this, which I really hope you will, take it back to your jurisdictions, talk it up amongst your friends, talk it up amongst your colleagues, and if there's something that you want us to bring back again, let us know. Deal directly with Cisco if you want, or contact me, because we'll be in contact with each other again, and we'll bring it back. How's that sound? Cool. All right, Cisco, thank you very much. All right, Cisco, thank you very much. Take it away, have a good time.
As I mentioned before, to some of you who heard, I'm going to put on a couple pieces of video, but the rest of it I'm going to be speaking with you, then I'm going to open it up. It's back and forth. The most important part here is that what you are about to hear here is a problem that's a nationwide problem. This is not just a New Hampshire problem. This is a Massachusetts problem, a Washington, D.C. problem, a Chicago problem, a Texas problem, a Seattle problem, and an L.A. problem. So as we play some of these videos, we're going to show you and train you, and we're going to talk about industry standard documentation, which we have here. And I'm going to cover all these pieces And from this, we're going to create a book for you that basically has a CD of this class. So this class is getting recorded. But there's many other classes that we've had 100, 200 people in there that we also recorded. So you don't have to just watch this class. You can watch any class, and it's online. We on Firescape Academy under YouTube. Just that's all you have to type in, Firescape Academy. And you can watch Seattle seminars, Portland seminars, watch various inspectors and people walking the streets with me and looking at fire escapes. Okay? So with that being said, let me see if I can play you this first one. And this is a fireman's worst nightmare when it comes to the second means of egress. Because when you show up at a fire, you're supposed to be doing what to the fire? Fighting the fire, right? You don't go to fires to do rescue missions, do you? So, but whenever you have fire escapes that are not properly maintained, not working correctly, you get there and you have a problem with the fire escape. Is it you fighting a fire or are you doing a rescue mission? So, this just happened not a month ago.
Right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, that scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
All right, the next one I'm going to show you is a Channel 7 news piece with good old Hank Philippi Ryan. But before I get to Hank Philippi Ryan, what do you think about that? It's only a 50-second piece that says what happened in Bridgeport, which, as you guys know, that next day, I believe, they lost some firefighters. Not on this particular situation, they lost some firefighters. And then I think Stanford lost some firefighters on another project, on another fire. But get into a fire, and all of a sudden, here you are, the first thing you're concerned about. That was a great shot of an 8-year-old child on a fire escape. And what does he mean, stuck on a fire escape? How can you get stuck on a fire escape? The only way you get stuck on a fire escape is that the ladder didn't come down or the cantilever didn't come down. Because you're supposed to self-evacuate off a fire escape. They're made for self-evacuation. They're there for the tenants only, for them to get out of that building, away from the fire, and whether you guys show up a minute, an hour later, it doesn't matter. They've self-evacuated. Because that was the answer back when you only needed one means of egress inside and a second means of egress outside. Now you don't, they stopped that in 1930. Now every building in the country is built with 2. Okay? But some of these older buildings that were supposed to be gone by now are duct tape, paper clipped, and held together with bubble gum. And guess what also got stuck on the back and stayed? Now when they've evacuated and they've gone away, guess who shows up and uses it? Because now what are these firemen doing to get these people off the fire escape? Jumping on the very same fire escape? Or are they wasting time getting ladders? So right now there's a blazing fire on one apartment going at it. And can they focus on that at all? So you might lose the building with the minutes that go roll on by as you're just taking these people gingerly off this fire escape. And in some of your volunteer forces, you don't got a lot of people to deal with. So you're turning into a rescue mission to get these people off just so you can let the building burn to the ground. Because once it gets hold and it gets out of your control, you got to step back. You got to surround and drown. So that's what happened here. But then all of a sudden at the end, they said, hey, they got everybody off. So it became a rescue mission, not anything else. And the fire by itself stayed in one apartment. And it's a 50-apartment building. So this is what we're trying to talk about fire escapes. Now, do you guys remember the Station Night fire? Right after that, Hank Philippi Ryan called around, and she happened to call us. So she didn't call us specifically. She called around looking, said, listen, I want to do a story on fire escapes and tell people that in case of fire, you can get out, the second means of egress, because of this horrible accident that happened in Rhode Island. I told her that I've been inspecting for so many years that 75% or more of the fire escapes I inspect, including some of the major institutions in Boston, fail inspection. She goes, that's impossible. You know, you have laws there that say you must inspect them every 5 years. It's in the codes. You know, we got inspectors, we got fire inspectors, we got everybody. That's impossible. I says, well, why don't you come down with me? And I took her down to the theater district down by where the Wang Theater is. And all I did was basically gave her a 15-minute training. Training of, here's a blown out gusset, here's a broken tread, here's blown out cement. Big, heavy, in-your-face kind of problems. Not the, oh, can you see the fine line of rust? Nothing like that. And then after that, she says, you know, okay, take me around and let's look at fire escapes. I says, no, walk any way you want. You tell me if any of the fire escapes you inspect now pass. And she walked the theater district, and she failed every fire escape that was there. Then she took it upon herself to go up into Beacon Hill and around the area into various communities by herself, and her crew, obviously. And this is the piece that she came out with that was supposed to be a 1-minute piece saying, you got fire escapes available to you. This is what she came up with.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Oh, I was scared to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes. Rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes.
So then over here?
For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files,
But there's no fire escape certification.
Not in this file.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes,
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to Inspectional Services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that These things have to be maintained, and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
So, let me now set this thing up so that she didn't believe, you know, the information that we had given her, and all of a sudden she went on and improved it. This is the Farscape Academy, and as you can see, we have probably 550 videos, and these are all the previous seminars we've done, walk-arounds, so I'll share some of those with you in a little bit, okay? But now let's get into the class, and let's talk about that video and what came from that. You know, what are some of the things you can do in regards to the immediate aftermath? That was done, does anybody remember the Station 9 fire? Was it 2003, 2004? 2003. I did this in 2003. 8 years later. Guess what kind of farscape reform there has been? None. So, we've, actually we go back one, the immediate aftermath of that is, which started helping a little bit, is immediately in the city of Boston, because the building department is the one that controls the inspections, not the fire department. In all 50 states, about 40 states, the fire department takes over. After the building department builds it, the fire department takes over and watches it for the lifetime of the building. In 40 states. In some states, it's the building department that not only builds it, but then they also have some inspection routine going on. Elevators, sprinklers, and such and such and such. It's not the fire department. It's actually all on top of the building department for 10 states. Massachusetts being one of those states where the building department is the one I answer to when it comes to inspecting a fire escape. And they have an affidavit, and they have a certification process, okay? And we're teaching a class, as a matter of fact, on the 26th of this month, down in Reading, Mass. If any of you want to send some of your building department guys, that's a class that actually the Association of Building Inspectors that Boston belongs to is going to be in that class. So that's a pretty big class that we're going to have. So, the first thing that they did, let me give you some tricks right off the bat. And I mentioned this to a couple of you guys here, because I did a brief interview with Scotty and what's the other gentleman? Ken. And they made it so that you pull any permit in your city, you cannot close a permit unless you have a current affidavit. So you want to work with your subcode official or your building department, you make them say, you get any any permit that gets pulled, issue the permit. Do not close any permit if there's a fire escape, if the second means of egress is identified to be outside, you cannot close that permit. So you're going to start automatically picking up picking up certificates on buildings that people are spending money on, trading them, selling them, doing something. So you can't close the permit until, so if somebody does a bathroom, does a roof, does a porch, all of a sudden now you've got this trigger that says, do you have a second means of egress and is it outside? Yes. I need a certificate in order to close your permit. Number two, how many, in order to occupy an apartment or to get an occupancy permit, what do you need? Who's the last guy walking in, checking the slopes? You make it a checklist. You add it to your checklist, because if the smoke goes off, most smoke detectors go off at night or in the daytime. And if you're at night, are you in your kitchen or are you in your bedroom? And if you're in your bedroom, where are you going to jump to? The front stairs, or are you going to jump to the fire escape that's right outside your window? So somehow, some way, tie in a request that when you do your final walkthrough and you're issuing a certificate, okay, for the smoke detectors, you ask for a copy of, you're not ordering a fire escape inspection. You're asking for a copy of the last fire escape inspection that they've done. So you can attach it to your paperwork. And if they say, I don't have one, what do you say? Get one. And it's your choice. Either issue the certificate to them for the smokes, because sometimes people will make noise about that. But they already got a violation that's on it. And now, even though you handed them the certificate, can they occupy the building if they don't have a smoke, if they have a fire escape that's suspect? So, you know, if they say, no, I don't have one, and I don't even know when we're supposed to get one, you can now choose. You can give it a quick eyeball from the ground. I'm going to teach you how to look at fire escapes and say, you get this done within 7 days, I'll let you occupy by the end of the month. You don't get it done, you don't get this process started, you know, here's your smokes, but you're not getting in this building anyway. I won't let you.
It's a great concept, but it's never going to happen.
What's the cost of a inspection from you guys?
Great question, not just us guys. Let's talk about who can inspect. Fire escape engineers,
yeah,
which are people that have licenses of some sort, they can inspect fire escapes, and structural engineers.
Right.
You know any structural engineers in your area? Most structural engineers will charge you anywhere from $75 to $175 plus, depending if you want some really high-end guy. But on average, $75 to $175 an hour for an inspection. They usually want to get anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, including travel time and report generation, but no more than 10. So if you get a guy that's on average of $150 as an example per hour, and he's got if he's got 10 hours, he's going to get $1,500 from that inspection. If he's got it for 5 hours, he's got a $750 inspection. On average, the inspection rates that we have for typical inspections is $189 to $489 for typical residential. Commercial applications run from $489 to $989. But we're not the only ones that can do it. Structural engineers, $75 to $175, and some of them start the clock only when they arrive. They can give you some documentation. We'll tell you what kind of documentation you should expect from these people, because you don't want these one typed letter forms that they send out that says to my, the fire escape has some rust, some expansion, some deflection. It means nothing. You want photographs. I'm going to show you what that's all about. So let me see if there's any other tricks that they have for you. And you mentioned that it's never going to happen. Why?
There's no possible way for a city besides Nashua to have money to ensure that the fire or building inspectors are on top. You need more than one full-time person just to do fire escape.
Right, no, you are correct. And in many cities they used to have lots, and now with all the costs and reductions, you have 1.5.
Right.
But all this is just a trick, and it's getting it on a list. As soon as you get it on a list that says I pulled a permit, somebody at the permit process saying has added to the checklist, I just came in for a change of toilets. And all of a sudden, I'm ready to close my permit, and at the very bottom it says, is your means of egress inside or outside? It's a checklist item. It just reminds the guy who was ever on the checklist of the building department saying, before I can close this, is you have an inside stair or an outside stair? Outside stair. Okay, in order for me to close this, I just need, I need a copy of your current certificate. Do you have one? No. All right, go get me one, then I can close this permit. But your inspector already went there and checked the toilet, everything's fine, but now this is a pending file. Then you also have these occupancy issues where you guys do walk in and check the smokes. And you say, okay, I need to check the smokes. Okay, do you have an inside or outside thing? So it's nothing but a checklist item. This should be a full-time activity for somebody, but until then, these checklist items just helps keep it as an awareness, meaning you're using the same way with sprinklers we talked about. If you accept sprinkler forms, you modify your sprinkler form to say, do you have an internal or external means of egress? External, great. With every sprinkler form, because it's already part of your sprinkler form, it says if your egress is external, you must, with the sprinkler form every year, you must submit a current fire escape affidavit. Because the sprinklers go off, I'm heading to a main stair if it's not blocked, or I'm heading to the fire escape. So there it is, yes.
What says they have to do that?
You say you have to do it. There's a couple things that you have to do. One is, and I got around this.
I can't invent code.
I know. Here's how it works. Nationwide, I get the same problem. Ready? You can do an ordinance. You can do, through the fire code, you can create some sort of administrative rule. But here's the best one that I got out of a state official in Massachusetts. He goes, you don't need to do any of that stuff. You just need to create what's called a policy. And if you create this form that says your policy is that you follow some sort of national guideline that says all fire escapes will have tags, all fire escapes will have confidence tests, all fire escapes will be inspected every 5 years. You're not creating code, you're basically saying you're trying to follow a policy, and that this is the policy and guidelines that you're following to the best of your ability. So they have nationwide, and for example, Seattle, they didn't have any fire escape code, so they made an administrative rule change, and that takes 1 to 3 years to do that. Some say, no, I'm just going to go to my local councilman, and we're going to get a meeting of the city councilman, and just basically say, we want to have an ordinance in this city that says all fire escapes must have a confidence test, and a certificate on file every 5 years. Boom, there it is. But then policy, you guys write policies all the time, right? Don't you have a policy and guideline books that you guys sort of create for sheds and for, you know, different things that pop up, wood stoves and so forth, a little policy thing. We have that policy that we've written out in a document that we can provide you. We put your name and number on the top and all the information there. And it's a policy guidelines for how do you inspect it, policy guidelines how to repair it, and policy guidelines on how you paint it. So whenever you get a question that somebody says, well, how do you want me to inspect it? You say, well, I'll follow these guidelines more or less. Because of this lack of knowledge, we've also started the National Firescape Association.org. And a lot of these videos are there. A lot of this industry standard documentation is there. It's already up online. National Firescape Association.org. And what that is, that its memberships, we're looking at launching it fully April of this year. Its members is firefighters, building inspectors, vendors, structural engineers, and all the people that have any and all information that they want to throw at this one common place, a library of knowledge. We currently have all the knowledge, believe it or not. You go online, you start searching Firescape repair, Firescape inspection, Firescape seminar. We're the only ones, so we felt that there was a need to put an association together. And our intentions right now is to have all firefighters and all building inspectors have free membership into it. So as soon as we get it up all and running, the website is already up. It already has some things, but it's under construction. But you can already start seeing a lot of stuff there that basically was our stuff that we said, we have to bring it over someplace where people can massage it and get it for free, and the National Firescape Association has it there. And you can watch videos, and you can, a lot of the information I'm about to give you is already online there, but if you need to put together a Firescape awareness program for your city, we help you put it together. But in the future, for 2012, our choice is to do reform. This class that we taught here, we taught the same exact class in Portland, Oregon. Now, they took it one step further. They just changed their state code. Their state code is now going to reflect everything I'm about to tell you today, and it goes effective January 15th. So about 4 to 5 months ago, I gave them a class, and this is already my third or fourth class I've given them over a 3-year period. So sometimes it is molasses, you know, in the winter, rolling up a hill. But those are the options. You can just use a standard policy. You know, you'll write it as a policy. So even when I send you my policy, you can copy and paste and put it in your standard Word documents that you guys use and just say, here's a policy that we copied from a national association as what should be the more or less standard, because I don't know anything about this stuff, so we're using this as a guideline. So that's what I'm about to send you. But these are just some of the tricks on how to start making it a checklist item. Okay? So let's talk about load testing. This class is going to be about guarantees, right? So this right here, it's an aged photograph, but it's one of the best photographs you have out there because it's calling, and I'm going to explain to you what a live load test is. This is a live load test. There are lives on it, and they're testing it, and we hope we get a good result. Because you know what the passing grade looks like, but what's a fail grade look like? Dead people on the ground with fire escape pieces on them. So I'm going to show you a ton of live load testing that didn't go so well as this one. And I'm going to explain live load testing to you today. But basically, let me see if we can get to when writing a violation, 75 years. Let me give you a little bit, very quick history of fire escapes. Fire escapes were started in the 1900s as an answer to these buildings that all had one set of stairs. Plenty of fires, plenty of people cooking and trying to heat their buildings, catching on fire. A lot of times the main stair catches on fire. Guess what these people have to do in order to get out? Jump out. Guess what they were caught in? These round donuts that these guys said, jump, jump, come on down. That was the fire escape plan. You basically would jump down into one of these things because there was no fire escape. So then they said, let's build fire escapes. So in the 1880s through the 1930s, they built nothing but fire escapes from Washington, D.C., any coast, any industrial city. They did nothing but build fire escapes on pre-existing structures. And the stairs in the front, you put a fire escape in the back. Nobody was maintaining them, nobody was doing anything, and they started saying, you know what, this is a foolish thing. So in 1930, when the Uniform Building Code started swapping around into other things, they said, you know what, from now on, all interior staircases from now, 2 means of egress. Put them inside, none of this outside stuff. And if you have elevators, I want an elevator, and still 2 means of egress on the inside. There's your current code. So today, you hear this word that comes out, no new fire escapes. You are 100% correct. No new fire escapes can be built on new construction. But if you have an existing structure, I can build fire escapes till the cows come home. And why is that? Because you get into a mansion, you get into a building where they have a central stair, the only answer, they can't gut this building without tearing it down. And it's protected by historical or hysterical, depending which way you call it. And the only means to get a second means of egress is a fire escape. And you deny them, they will get it, because you are misquoting the code. The code says no new construction can have fire escapes on it, but all a pre-existing, I got a mansion and I'm going to make 4 condos out of it, I'm going to answer the means of egress with a fire escape. Because that's what the code says. Unless you have some special code that specifically prohibits, and okay, then you got this thing that you sort of, and that happens every now and then. I got, you know, the code says you can, but then all of a sudden said, no, we went specifically to write a code that says you can, just so that people stop chopping up these mansions. You know what I'm saying? So that has happened. But on average, fire escapes are still here to answer any pre-existing structure, get their fire escape. Okay? So now the load test is what we're going to be talking about right now. That's a 3x5 platform. Okay? 100 pounds per square foot is the average for a fire escape. It's overbuilt. 3 times 5 is 15 square feet times 100 pounds per square feet. That's 1,500 pounds. I'm going to load test it for you. Every platform, every tread on this fire escape has to be load tested for 30 minutes, and I'll show you load testing in a second. And I got to take sand, lead, water, whatever I can find that weighs 1,500 pounds besides humans, and I got to put the load on there, and I got to watch it for 30 minutes. I got to load 40% immediately, take measurements, and then hold deflection. It can't deflect more than 3/16 of an inch. You believe that? And that is to test the connections into the wall. I take my measurement. Then after 10 minutes of 40% of my load, I put the full load on, and I sit there and watch. You guys know what a pass grade looks like, right? What's the fail grade look like with all my water and all my sand on there? So there's the first problem. You know how many, I'm 50 years old, 51 actually, my birthday was just January 7th. Thank you for not sending the cards. But I've been hijacked into this business since my dad hijacked me at 10 years old. In 40 years, you know how many fire escape load tests I've ever done? In California. And not because you guys ordered me, because the owner of the 10-story building said, I want a load test, I want a load test, I want a load test. So we did one. It's not something that's done very, very often because the result of a fail is horrific. But you guys want some guarantees, right? You want guarantees for the tenants, and you want guarantees for your firemen, right? So let me tell you, when I load tested, and let's see, I'm gonna go into the guarantee in a second. So 3x5, each fireman weighs 150 pounds plus minus, plus 100 pounds of gear. He's at 250, right? 10 firemen will bring me how many pounds at 250? 2,500 pounds. Can I get 10 firemen in the middle on that fire escape? Can I get 5 firemen in a 3x5 square with all 8 gear on? And that's 1,250 pounds, and this thing will take 1,500. So I can't even get 5 firemen into that box. The average person is $1.50. Can I get 10 150 pound people in a 3x5 square? Not unless they're doing piggyback rides, right? So this thing is overbuilt. This thing is built. So if this fire escape is in good condition, see all these people? This is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. It'll carry that load. Every bolt on the outside of this fire escape is made to carry 150 pounds per square foot. I mean 100 pounds per square foot. What about the connections into the building? Who knows, right? So we're looking for guarantees. So if I got liability, the city's got liability, the tenant's got liability. So the code is very simple. I have to satisfy you with some sort of inspection, critical inspection, or load test it. You were looking for the word guarantee, right? So if I load test it, let me tell you how we all get a guarantee. I load test it, I put weight on it, I don't care if it falls or not, because then I get something to fix, and the guy's going to pay me anyway, right? So I load test it, and it passes, I have no liability. I load test it, I give you a certificate that says it passes, you have no liability. The owner gets the certificate that says I load tested it and it passed, he has no liability. A week later, a bunch of people get on it, the thing collapses to the ground. Do I have any liability? I load tested it, and it passed that day. But a week later it fell. Do I have any liability? I have no liability. I did what the law said. Do you have any liability? A week later it collapses. There's going to be an investigation, but we did everything possible, right? The law said load tested. I did. You got a document that said it was load tested. You did. The owner got his paper, so those 5 or 10 dead people on the ground. We're going to investigate to see what occurred, but believe me, it had nothing to do with the load test, because it passed that day. So that's a great guarantee for you, right? Now let's take a look at another form of guarantee. If I take a tread, which represents railings, connections, and I have 4 bolts in it, and the bolts are 50 to 75 years old, nice and square, or rivets, I can look at it as much as I want, but unless I x-ray or do a load test, can I pass that tread? So I have to load test treads, railings, supports in order to get the guarantee that you're looking for. But if I took a tread and I took out the rivets or the square head bolts and I put in brand new bolts, do I have to load test that tread now? I do. I got brand new bolts in it. Well, if I'm going to load test it, then I don't have to change the bolts. But if I change the bolts, I don't have to load test it anymore because I eliminated the concern you had, and that is that's an old bolt. Well, let me take that old bolt out, put a brand new bolt in. Once you put in a brand new bolt, you don't need to load test it because the day you put up a brand new fire escape, you don't load test it that day. But as soon as I change out all the bolts on a fire escape, so if I refurbish an entire fire escape because it is 50 to 75 years old, even though all the connections have no rust on it, to give you the guarantee you're looking for, I can only either load test it or I can refurbish it. And that means taking out all the old bolts. Am I correct? That's going to eliminate about 97% of all the connections on a fire escape, right? But what about that thing sticking in the building, those pieces that's sticking 8 to 12 inches into the building? What do we do about that? I can drill it, I can get exposure from the inside, I can do some destructive testing and go and take pictures of it for you and verify that it's in A1 condition, right? And on average, that could cost me anywhere from $200 to $400 a piece. If I've got 10 connections on a fire escape, that's a lot of destructive testing on the wall, right? Otherwise, the only other option I have is load test it. Is that correct? Either do some of this investigation and prove to you, otherwise you will order a load test on that thing, right? So you're saying, I'm sorry that you have to do this investigative activity, but now that's $200 to $400 per support. With a mason involved, opening up some bricks, or drilling a hole next to it, putting in a probe to photograph the steel. How about if I just eliminate all that? And about 5 inches away from every support that stays, and I repack it and it stays good, I put an epoxy bolt 5 inches away, or a new through bolt into the building, a brand new one. And I forget about verifying the old one, I let sleeping dogs lie, and I give you a brand new 3/4 epoxy bolt into that 75 to 100-year-old building. Satisfied now? Give you a brand new connection. Now we're at 200% on every connection into the building. Still want me to load test it? Or have I eliminated the need for a load test by duplicating the connection, the unknown connection into the building? No. The load test is when we're trying to verify an existing connection. But as soon as you have a brand new connection, there's no need for a load test because every time I put up a brand new fire escape, I never need to load test it. The fact that I put up a brand new one, that new connection is a verifiable connection. It's called a verification of a connection. 97% of your fire escape is outside, and every one of those is verifiable because as soon as I change out a bolt, it's verifiable. I just change the bolt. So let's go through the bolt process, ready? And because you want a guarantee. I need a guarantee, I need to eliminate liability, you need. So how can I give you a guarantee if I just refurbish this fire escape, which includes 100% of the change of all the bolts, because the fire escape was 50 to 75 years old, and I reconnected it with new epoxy bolts from Hilti into the building at every connection. I do that, I give you a certificate, and I refurbished and retied it back into the building and kept the existing structure.
You know what you went into?
Yeah, we have to.
Well, no, I'm just asking. Because,
Yeah,
I mean,
assuming all that it's a good masonry wall, assuming all those things. A week later, this fire escape pulls off the building. Nobody dies, but the whole fire escape pulls off the building. Or treads shear. Who's got the liability now because a brand new bolt sheared? Who's got the liability? Me, the city, or the tenant? There's a brand new bolt sheared on the tread.
You'll have to have documentation on the material that your bolt was made of.
Correct. So now you're getting right to it. It says, who's got the liability? The bolt company that sold me some bolt, because bolts don't shear. But if a bolt does shear, a week after we certified it to give you the guaranteed word that you're looking for, everybody's suing the bolt company. Oh, but it also pulled away from the building. Just like in Boston in the tunnel, the guy's driving his wife, brand new wife, to the airport because he's going on his honeymoon, and what fell on his head and killed her? One of those slabs. And what were they held up with? Hilti Bolts, what did they sue? The bolt company, the Hilti Bolt Fastener Company. And one of the things that they found, that they were all improperly installed. But, do you understand? You're looking for me to give you guarantees, not just me. Any structural engineer is going to look at any of your fire escapes. You want 2 guarantees. And you're going to constantly say, because you're going to write your, here's the words you're going to write on all your violations from now on, and I'll explain. Repair, paint it, test it. You'll never write a scrape and paint violation. You'll never identify a tread or support or anything on a fire escape. You'll always write repair it, paint it, test it. Because you're always going to get people calling you back saying, what's this violation? What do you mean? Well, the word repair means fix it. He goes, fix what? He goes, that's not for me to decide. That's why you need to hire a structural engineer. That structural engineer is going to tell you and me what the plan is going to be to repair your fire escape. Paint it. Well, you need, once it's repaired, and only after it's been repaired will I allow you to paint it. And by the way, the EPA's kicked in now, so all fire escapes that are older than 1978 have what on them? Lead, so everybody who's going to touch it has to be a licensed renovator, which is an easy thing, but they have to be a licensed renovator to collect all these chips correctly. And then the third one, it says test. What's the word test mean? That word means load test. Unless you satisfied me, because I'm going to put all the power back in your hand, unless you and your inspector, your structural engineer or your fire escape engineer, has proven to me and given me the guarantee. The only 2 ways to give guarantees nowadays: load test it, because your fire escape is 50 to 75 years old. What if you got a 25-year-old fire escape? You want to load test it, or you want to refurbish it if it's only 25 years old? Or do you want to discuss that with the structural engineer? Because you have a couple of brand new ones, right? That you don't have to go so, but who needs to be proven? Who needs to be satisfied? You guys. If you guys are not satisfied, you know what you pull out of your pocket all the time? When somebody kind of painted it themselves, it's the work, you know, everybody's playing games with you. What do you pull out? You pull out the load test. Because their inspector, their structural engineer just blew you off, called you crazy. You're like, okay, then there's only 2 things that will get a guarantee in my city or my town. Load tested, or satisfy me that the refurbishment or the game plan met my satisfaction. When's the last time you let somebody put in an entire sprinkler system in a building without ever talking to you? When's the last time anybody put in a central station or put in alarms in the building and never talked to you? Just said, hey, come on down, we're done. We've been at it for a while, and what do you think? But it's done, by the way. It's what do you think, but it's done. Hope you like it, because that's what you get. Well, that's what people have been doing with fire escapes. And here's how they've been getting away with fire escapes. If you paint a fire escape, do you need a permit? No. If you repair a fire escape, do you need a permit? You repair anything, you need a permit. Repair a porch, permit. You repair structural, anything that's structural, you need a permit.
I think with repair, you don't. It falls under maintenance.
Maintenance need any kind of permit? You guys have to sort of work that out, because a lot of times, if you are touching a fire escape, it's a life safety issue. If I'm touching a sprinkler system, do I need a permit?
It depends what you're doing.
Exactly. I'm doing a full refurb on a fire escape.
If you're doing maintenance on the sprinkler system, you don't need to pull a permit for that.
What kind of maintenance? Overhaul, repair? I'm talking about a broken system. I have a broken sprinkler system. Do I need a permit to fix it?
Well, it depends on your town.
Exactly.
Where it is.
I'm trying to say, where I'm trying to push you guys to is that if you have only 2 choices on the fire escape, load test it or refurbish it, what are you going to look for so you can have some assistance and additional eyeballs on it? You want a repair permit or not?
But the bitter reality is, when I get the letter from the structural engineer that says that I have inspected, I've done whatever this fire escape is, whatever word he wants to use.
And put that.
That's my guarantee. Because if anything happens, it's going to be like, excuse me, right here.
Okay. And if I was to show you that the structural engineers who are great with bridges and are great with buildings look at fire escapes as the trash can of the industry, 6 times the work, 1/6 the pay. A lot of them do what's called drive-bys, and they'll roll down a window, look out the window, and give that piece of paper to somebody who'll give them anywhere from $300 to $500. If I show you a couple of those, and you start losing confidence in these structural engineers, And I've created a confidence test that I'm showing you so that the next time you get, and I'm going to put your name on top of that confidence test, which is an industry standard confidence test that Seattle copied from me, and now it's online, so you can go to seattle.org and download their Word document, and you change your name on top, or we can do it for you. And now this document is no longer, do you accept from a structural engineer, oh, the fire escape is structure style and has been kept painted. Because that is where, you should put that in the library room, which is the bathroom, so that's where that paper belongs. Because when you look at the confidence test, you're going to start saying, oh my God, there's specific questions in here that most structural engineers don't want to answer. Have you looked at all the connections? Is there no rust in any of the supports? Have you verified the connections into the wall? And when you read the list, you're like, my God, you throw that letter back to somebody, you just got a certificate that says the fire escape at 1 Main Street is fine. You send him that certificate, you say, refill it out and answer these questions. He goes, I'm not going to sign that document. Say, why not? Then you don't have a guarantee. So that's what we're here to tell you, is that there's some documentation we're going to put in your hands that's going to make everybody do the right thing. Structural engineers now have a document they need to fill out. That's an industry standard confidence test with yes/no questions that will put their liability on the line. We have repair guidelines for vendors who are going to fix fire escapes that will put liability and responsibility on the line. And we have paint information for you that makes sure that the painters are not, contaminating an apartment full of lead dust and lead chips. So we're here to give you all this information, and that's that packet I gave you. We'll go into it a little bit more deeper. Here's what happened in Boston. We had a fire escape, and so on July 22 of 1975, and I believe it's 1973, this happened on Marlborough Street. You guys remember this? One of the most famous photographs was this. Now, if you look on if you open up your books and you start looking inside, you can see a nice big poster of that. If you want to use that, you can use that to basically remind you as to, who does or where do fire escapes basically do their most damage, and the most damage they do, believe it or not, is with people and with firemen. And if you can all pass a card, there's the same photograph on the back. You can use that in your wallet. Because every now and then, when somebody's giving you a hard time about a fire escape, you can send them that and say, hey, this is the problem. So you can put the poster in your office. Now this fireman, he survived with one hand. That's the 4th floor Marlborough Street, which is now Millionaires Road now in Boston. She died, the knees landed on her and survived. Okay? And this is what you're concerned about, when all of a sudden fire escapes that are supposed to save lives end up taking a life. Okay? Take a look at live load testing. If you're near a college, what do kids do in these parades? Out of their dorms? Back in the day, when there was no AC, guess how people cooled? Every now and then, you guys got this craziest things happening. You can't get the person out of the building through the main doorway for some reason. And where do you end up getting them? Here you are saving somebody only to have you and your fellow firefighters and that victim fall through the fire escape. This is a guy fixing a fire escape. One of our guys out of Chicago, his dad fell 7 stories and died fixing a fire escape that just came apart underneath his feet. Doing this very same work. And obviously, when all hell breaks loose, guess what you guys need? These are all live load tests. Show you another live load test. Some additional live load testing, right? Dorms, this is typical, right? People are now starting to get on, wedding shots, are starting to get on fire escapes at the banquet hall. College students, non-smoking buildings, where do you smoke? Here's a fire escape. Used to be there. Now it's there. Let me tell you how many people were on it. The guy, there's 3 fire escapes. The one I taking a photograph from, the one that was there that fell down, and one over there. See that other one? The guy turned this into a 5-condo unit. Him and his son fixed the roof, lifted up the fire escape, fixed all the shingles, and put everything back. Guess what he had left in his box? Bolts. He goes, I don't need those. So one day, one of the condo owners is selling it, and then somebody wants to go up and take a look at the roof. So the owner of the condo, plus his real estate agent, the buyer and his real estate agent, and also another condo trustee was happened to be there. 5 people. Started climbing up, and the whole thing fell 1 story. That's a flat roof. So, nobody died. They're all mangled, twisted, broken, and they all reached for their what? And they did what? That's right. And then their attorney called who? Paramedics. And fire department and building department. So this thing ended up in a big, huge lawsuit. The fire escape I was on taking photographs, and the other fire escape was in the state of collapse. There's another live load test with not so great results. This is in Iowa. I'm an expert witness. Get called by a lot of attorneys who basically want me to investigate. So it's like CSI fire escapes. Yeah? It's a show coming, but we're going to try to do it out of Miami. It's a little more. But basically, 3 kids up there watching 4th of July fireworks. And this is one of those houses that somebody turned it into a dorm style, you know, some guy that has tons of money buys these big old houses and puts 16 kids and everybody's got a room, kind of one of these things, right? And all of a sudden, he had to do some work right there. So he sends his local guys working, you know, his maintenance crew to go over there. They took the fire escape off, and then they put the fire escape back on after they re-shingled this side, and instead of putting the through bolt back that this side had and that side had before, they put in a nice 2-inch lag bolt through a 1/2-inch hole. So it's a 1/2-inch lag bolt through a 1/2-inch hole, and what was it biting on? And it wasn't even biting into a stud, it was biting into the clapper. So when the kids went up there, it was 2 guys and a girl. The thing pulled away, hit the roof, hit the ground, all their blood. What's funny about this, you know, because you're supposed to keep evidence, and this is still a case, ongoing case. She got hurt. She got maimed. The boys just got all scraped up, but she got maimed. But they put it back. But where did they put all the evidence in the piece? How did we find out that this thing was live? They threw this thing into the woods, into an open field about 8 blocks away. There's a lot of people there, fire department, lawyers, owners, everybody was interested. So, and then in all that mess, what did we find? The smoking gun. What was it? The bolt.
Do you mind, gentlemen?
So the lawyer speaking and basically saying, "My gentlemen, this is an important fact right here," so that my clients can win. They put it back the next day. They were so worried about it that not only did they through bolt it back into the building, they put a leg on it, the leg right on top of the shingles. I saw a steel tube right on top of the shingles. And the stair that came back, this never had legs before, so they put legs right on top of the shingles. And then in that corner, where it ties into that corner, there was supposed to be a lag bolt there to hold it in the corner. The hole is still there, and actually, when we went there again for a re-inspection, we actually lifted it, walked it away, and walked it back. So it was ready to basically pull itself away. So now the re-installation, again, done with no permit. So these are the kind of things, whenever you're touching a life safety system for repair, do you want a permit? If it's going to be a life safety system and it's under repair, meaning there are structural issues with it, and an engineer is involved, do you want a permit so that you can have another set of eyes watching it? Because you pull a permit, then the building inspector is now watching, checking the workers' comp liability, checking to make sure that the work was done correctly. Okay? Another live load test, Boston. This is on the hill, Beacon Hill. Cost you a pretty penny just to have an apartment up there. So this guy was lucky because his 5th floor apartment actually went to the 5th floor roof of the building next door because it's on a hill. And the deck over there was gorgeous. And you're on Beacon Hill, you're paying $3 grand a month anyway for your apartment. You and your girlfriend, 25, 26 years old, you guys have been drinking, you just got home at 2, 3 in the morning, drinking. Where do you go to have a nightcap? Neighbor's roof, right? So you go over there, you jump the neighbor's fence on the inside of the wood deck up there, you hang up there. So neighbors don't know. Phone rings though back over here, you know, on your apartment up there. And who wants to answer the phone? You or your girlfriend? She does, because she kind of remembers where it is. So she kind of jumps over, but the rail is missing over here on the fire escape, and boom, dead. It's another case that's going on. That's a live load test, missing pieces. And it could also happen to a fireman. He's fighting a fire, doing something, backing up, and he's supposed to have a rail to protect him from, you know, because he has to control the hose and back up into something. Missing pieces of a fire escape put him where? Boom. Who inspects fire escapes? Believe it or not, Structural engineers, I went over that. How much they charge? On average, most structural engineers to look at a fire escape for you, 75 to 175. So if somebody tells you, I can't find anybody, do you guys know structural engineers?
Give them the book.
Right?
And the yellow pages.
Yeah. So can people give you that as an excuse, I can't find anyone? You say, structural engineer within 50-mile radius won't get somebody. Otherwise, I'll get you somebody to come down here and look at this. But look in the book, look on the internet, type in on the internet, on the Google, do a search. Fire escape inspection, Concord, New Hampshire. Fire escape structural engineer, Concord, New Hampshire. Guess what you're going to get? A list, okay? They also allow architects. In some states, it's structural engineers and architects. So a lot of times what we tell people is, you need to be sent some credentials. Because do you want an architect that's been doing decks all his life in wood, has never touched steel, to now be inspecting fire escapes without having some sort of conversation with you? So when you deal with sprinkler guys, when you deal with the alarm guys, don't they always meet with you? Don't they always come down and sit down with you and give you their credentials and tell you how long they've been in business and stuff like that? Not always, but you get to see it when you go there and look at the job, whether or not they're professional or not. You see professionalism just by whoever is calling on the phone or whoever's showing up at a site or the results of their work. A lot of people think you guys inspect fire escapes. I don't know why you're picking on this fire escape. The city official was just here 3 weeks ago, and he didn't say anything about my fire escape. He didn't see any of those things you're picking out right now. And if you write a scrape and paint violation, you know what that guy's going to try to make me do during the inspection? Give him what kind of quote? Scrape and paint. Typical 5-story fire escape, full of balconies 20 feet wide, full of stairs 2 feet wide, cantilever at the bottom with a weighted balance stair. 2 people are going to quote that scrape and paint violation, which you will never write ever again. He's going to call Bob the painter. Bob the painter comes down there and says, oh, what's the problem? He goes, I got a violation from my inspector who never wrote me a violation on this thing. He picks on all this other stuff, but all of a sudden now he's got some bug up his butt that he wants this fire escape thing done. And he wrote me a scrape and paint violation. How much to paint this fire escape? The guy's going to say, I can probably paint this fire escape, depending if you want a primer and top coat or not, or just full black, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. And the guy takes a look at it, and he comes back down and says, listen, by the way, you've got some rust in your connections and stuff, so you should take care of that before I paint it. He goes, okay, well, I know a welding guy, or an ornamental iron workshop right down the street, let me call them. So he calls, another guy, Mike, the welding guy. He comes up and looks at the fire escape. He goes, oh, you got a violation? Yeah. He's never written a violation on my building. I've been in this building for 30 years. All of a sudden now he wants this fire escape because he wrote me a scrape and paint violation. The guy goes, okay. But the painter guy said that it needs some treads, needs to replace some repair. He goes, okay. So the guy walks up and down and goes, dude, that's not just that tread. All the treads are bad. I got connections, rails are ready to pop, cement work into the building. He goes, wow, really? He goes, okay, how much? He goes, well, I can repair and paint this fire escape because most of these ornamental guys are going to repair it and paint it. They're going to steal the job from the paint guy who's doing 3 to 5. He goes, well, how much to do this fire escape? That 5-story fire escape, depending on how bad, whether it's 25% rot, 50% rot, or 75% rot, can be anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 for an average 5-story fire escape. So now he's got 2 quotes, and he's got your violation in the middle. What's your violation say? Scrape and paint. So who gets the job?
You guys, it's gonna scrape and paint.
Because you wrote a scrape and paint violation. But if you write a repair, paint, test, because you wrote the word repair and you mentioned nothing, the guy goes, repair what? What did you see? That I'll fix it right away. I have my handyman down in the basement. He's going to, no. I need you to have an investigation done by a structural engineer or a fire escape engineer. He needs to produce a report. He needs to share that report with me. Okay? And then from that plan of repair with a permit, I will then decide whether or not I will order a load test. Because if the repair and refurbishment of this 50 to 75-year-old fire escape satisfies me, guess what I'm not going to order on you? A load test. Otherwise, the law on average says in Massachusetts, you know how often I have to load test your fire escape? Every 5 years by code. But if I refurbish it Do we need to load test it every 5 years? The average for load testing a fire escape after it's been fully refurbished is every 20 to 25 years. Okay? And that's you and the structural engineer having a face-to-face and discussing that this thing has been properly maintained, always been kept painted. So it's a new line in the sand.
How do you know it's been refurbished?
100% of the bolts got swapped out. 100% of the major structural bolts, all the treads got swapped out, all the supports got swapped out, all the railing bolts got swapped out, all the connections back to the building got swapped out. What about all the minor connections? You know, some of the scroll work with some of the little, no, that's minor structure. They keep their original rivets, they keep their original bolts, you know, a welded a bar, you know, those don't need to be done. They need to be tested with a hammer test. Now, I'll add one more piece here. All welded fire escapes, they only make up about 1 to 2% of all the fire escapes in the nation, and they last 25 years and then they rot out again. Because welded connections are not a standard for fire escapes, but they're out there. Every welded connection I encounter must be rebolted. Not rewelded, it must be rebolted. I don't care what the condition is of that weld, because you want to guarantee, my only way to guarantee that is to load test it or x-ray it. You know how expensive it is? You know, if I put a 30-cent bolt through it, you know what I have to do? Do I have to load test it anymore? Do I have to x-ray that weld anymore once I back it up with a bolt? So every welded connection I find, I will back it up with a bolt, and it eliminates the need for you to throw a load test at my client. Question?
What kind of bolts do you use? What's the material they're made of?
Very good question. You don't need titanium bolts, you don't need any gold bolts, you don't need any special bolts, you don't need grade 8, grade 5. I can take a tread, put it together, take a wooden peg and stick it in there and have you step all over it every day and as often as you want, and it's not going to do anything. What destroys a bolt is when rust gets in between the connection and it grows, it rips the bolt open. That's it. So you don't have to have stainless steel, you don't have to have grade 5, grade 8. You can replace it with standard bolts.
When you look on the head of the bolt, you've got tags which tell you basically the strength of the bolt. There's little ticks.
Yeah, 3 ticks is a 5 grade. Yeah,
right.
You don't need any grade. You need a standard bolt, which was what they used 100 years ago, is the same bolt today. A bolt will not shear. I'll give you a hammer. I'll give you a 3-pound or a 5-pound hammer, and I'll let you shear it for me. I'll let you pound the hell out of a tread until it shears, and you will hurt yourself.
What diameter?
All standard bolts for treads are 3/8. Then as you start getting up into stringers, it goes into halves and into 5/8. But it takes 4 3/8 bolts to hold one tread in place. And we'll cover that. I'll show you all that connection. City official, fire escape inspectors. There's only 2 licenses in the country for you to touch fire escapes. One's out of Boston, put out by the building department. One's out in California, put out by the fire department. I have both, but otherwise 48 states don't have anything. So if a fire inspector from Boston or from California wants to inspect in your state, you know what he's got to do? You got to do the same thing I got to do. I got to send you my credentials. I got to send you my information. I got to send you my sample inspection reports and say, I'm qualified. I have these licenses. Will you give me the courtesy to inspect in your state? You know what you can say? No. I need a structural engineer. Say, great. Can I back my inspection up with a structural engineer stamp from your state? He goes, yeah. So a lot of times, believe it or not, some inspectors have to wake up a structural engineer who knows less than they do because you need to have that stamp. That's not a problem. But that's how you get around that in case we can't inspect in your state without having a structural engineer backup. We just get a local, or we have a structural engineer on staff that is licensed in 40 states. But that's how you can do it, you know. So some inspectors are going to try to inspect in your area from Boston. Very few are going to come out of California. But some from Boston will come in and work their way up here. And they have the right. They just have to qualify themselves with you. They have to give you credentials. I think it's on your sheet there. If you look at, if we were to speak with you, we'd send you our credentials. So let's take a look at this quick book, and let me tell you everything we're going to cover today. Every time I inspect, I have to send you one of my credentials. And way before I charge the client, I have to tell you, I've spoken with your inspector, and he has or has not authorized me to inspect. But I speak with you, and I say, hey, I teach classes. Here's my 2 licenses down here at the bottom. Here's my my credentials as far as what I've done and where I've done it. I usually send you a sample of my inspection reports, and this is what you're going to be getting with photographs and markings. I also talk about the lead law, you know, the EPA, that I'm going to be, make sure that whoever's fixing the fire escape has the lead law. If I need to draw any fire escape solutions, I send you samples of my drawing skills. So here's all these drawing examples. If all of a sudden we're going to put in a ladder or a spiral or a catwalk over a roof. I'm going to show you drawings of the typical fire escape connections, which I'm going to cover today, and how all fire escapes are connected into buildings. So I'm going to use these little diagrams to help you. I'm also going to have right up here typical load test criteria. So that you say, well, what's your load test criteria? Well, it's right up the top. You can't read it, but I'll blow it up into a full-blown page for you of load test criteria. Here's my inspection repair guidelines. So I'm going to tell you how I'm going to fix every tread, every support. There's a standard inspection guideline. These are the things that we'll give you so that you'll make any vendor, any engineer show up. He's going to follow these industry standard guidelines, which are available and can be viewed at the National Fire Escape Association website. How about these confidence tests? Now, obviously, I've shrunk a lot of these things for sake of paper, you know what I'm saying? But here's a confidence test that's online as we speak right now. I don't have to give you this one. You can go to seattle.gov, go to their fire protection, fire prevention. But I'm going to send you this stuff anyway, so but you can go there and you look under the certificates. They also have a bunch of other certificates that you may want to steal. Sprinkler certificates, alarm certificates, and it's these inspection documents. But one of them that they have there is a fire escape confidence test. This is my confidence test that they basically copied every one of my questions and put it in there. And when you start looking at page 1, page 2 of this, it's pretty heavy questions for a structural engineer to answer. So we're going to cover some of those questions today. The last thing that we did on here too is what's called the yearly. This yearly test, when you look at it, has 3 simple questions. You know who does that every year? The building owner, the management company. They hand you a document that says, I've had my 5-year, but here's my yearly, and all the pieces to the fire escape are working. There's nothing on the fire escape that looks bad. The paint looks good on my fire escape. And if there's any moving parts on my fire escapes, they're working. So every year the owner gives you a signed document that says, I'm on top of my fire escape. How does that sound? Okay, now let's take a look at the last piece of the puzzle here. Tags. Here's what the tags look like, guys. Now imagine, now who's using this? Seattle, Tacoma, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Is it a code? No. Is it a local, we call it procedure? Departmental procedure to put tags? Yes. So let's take a look at what's the intention of these things. And again, I'll show you in the class. Ready? It's the middle of the night, nice and smoky. You're going down a dark alleyway, and 7 to 10 feet off the ground, you have this thing up there. And what's it say? Fire escape has no difficulties. White. It's almost like walking into an elevator, and it has a tag that says what about the elevator? It's certified. So every time you walk around any building, so in your ordinance and in your city, every fire escape must have a tag. That's what Seattle did. Seattle's now going through the 3 to 5 year time frame that it's going to take to get every fire escape to have a white tag. And who does this help? Helps the tenants. Because when they look outside, they see a white fire escape tag. What's it say to them?
They're safe.
They're safe. They can get on it. In the middle of the night, you guys running up to a fire escape, and they see a white tag. Oh, let's see if you guys remember the old, the gray-haired guys tell the new-haired guys with dark hair, in case of fire, don't use the... See? That's the word that's been being passed out for 75 years. And they say, you show up, use your own stuff. Go get the ladder. Go get wait for equipment to arrive. 3 to 5 minutes to a baby, to a mother, during smoke inhalation. What kills people, as you know? The fire or the smoke? You don't got 3 to 5 minutes. So you get there, and all of a sudden you got to climb a ladder, or you got to go up a stairwell, and there's a white one there. What are you going to do? You're going to use it. You're going to get up there and save that baby and that mother. All of a sudden, you're doing a daily walkthrough because you happen to be across the building. You look at this fire escape, and right there it says month, year, next due date. We're 7 to 10 feet. That's 7 feet off the ground right now. Are you able to tell when the next inspection date is going to be? And if it's out of date? If you can read that from 7 to 10 feet off the ground? It's going to be right there. Nice and big and black. Right? So you're going to be able to see on here when the next inspection date is without having to go back for your record. So this tag has an expiration date. That's when they pass and they're certified, when all things are great. 3 to 5 years from now, all things will be great in your city. That's how long it's going to take to fix 75 years of neglect. So this is not something we're going to fix overnight. We'll show you the program of identifying fire escapes. But you get there in the middle of the night, you get one of these. What's yellow mean?
Caution.
Caution. Should I go get my ladder?
Yep.
Yep. Now, it says that if you get a yellow, how many days you have to fix it? 30 days. If your tenants are reading the back and you got a yellow, think I'll hold up my rent if I have a yellow tag on my fire escape? Think there's going to be a little bit motivation by the owner to get his fire escape fixed if he's got a yellow tag on his fire escape? You got a red one on the fire escape. What's it mean?
Now who's putting these tags on the
Two people are going to put up these tags, and I'll explain that, but on this red tag, jump on it, you get on it, will the tenants, they see a tag that says the fire escape is out of service, will they pay their rent? The question is, who puts these out? We'll make these tags for you. We'll put your information and your name on here. You are only going to issue yellows and reds. The only one that can issue a white one is a structural engineer or a fire escape engineer. So you'll never put one of these out. You'll have white ones because everybody's going to want these tags with your city name on it, and these tags with blanks here. We'll provide those for you free of charge. They'll have your code here, your information. It's a very standard generic tag, industry standard tag. Now, who puts out if I'm an inspector, I will put on that fire escape after my inspection, I'll put a yellow, a red. I won't put a white right away because I got to send a certificate, I got to make up a tag, and within a week to 10 days, a tag will be issued. But the certificate already comes to you. But if the fire escape needs repair, and usually 75% of the ones I inspect do, I will be leaving a yellow and a red, and I'll be contacting who? I will have conversations with who about what needs to be done next. I'm going to try to convince you not to order on this client what? No, you want to order the load test. So what am I going to try to do in my sit down with you? Convince you of what? What kind of plan do I have? A good plan, right? Something that is going to satisfy you, because right now your first word out of your mouth on every fire escape you run across is load testing. And can I just load test it in the as-is condition, any fire escape? No, I have to spot repair it and load test it. So if I got broken treads, whatever, I still got to fix those before I can even load test it. Because you're going to get some people that are crazy, they don't want to refurbish it. And what can you say to them? Then spot repair it, because your engineer is going to tell you what the spot repairs are, and load test the fire escape. Well, how do I avoid a load test? Full refurbishment. Well, why do you want a full refurbishment? The thing is great. The thing is 75 years old, dude. You've changed the doors and the windows on this building more than you've ever done the fire escape. These windows here, you probably got another 15 years before every one of these windows gets ripped out of here, and you got to put in brand new windows. You flipped your roof more times than this fire escape has been repaired. Because it's the bastard child of egress. I'll give you an example. You get into a building, and I'm gutting out the whole building, and I'm making it nice apartments and stuff, but I got this rear staircase that is just a pain in the ass, and if I had that extra space, I could expand the closets, have some great bathrooms back there. So I do. I got, this 5-story building and make 5 condos out of it, and I take the staircase out of the back. You know what I'm saying? And then here you are doing your final walkthrough, and you're going to give me the occupancy permit, and you walk in, and you see the first stair, and you're walking around the back, and you're like, hey dude, where's the second means of egress? Ah, it's an old rickety small stair. I took it out, and I blew it up into additional closet space. You gonna let that building open? So if it's inside, you guys have this crazy thing in your brain that you'll freak out on that building, this guy's not opening it up, and there's all kinds of, how can the building inspector allow such a thing? You guys are gonna freak out, right? Same building. And now the fire escape's on the outside of the building. And they spent $3 million getting these 5 units into, top end, and the fire escape didn't get touched once. Yet you look outside, and you see all the treads are still there, but it's old. It's a 75-year-old building. And he doesn't have a certificate, and never had his, and he needs his occupancy permit, because everybody's coming in 3 days. You guys gonna freak out? Good. Normally you don't. Because fire escapes, everybody assumes they're gonna work, everybody assumes they're there, everybody assumes they're rock solid, everybody assumes. So you take a staircase out of the inside of a building, everybody freaks. You have a bad staircase on the back of the building, and everybody's got days to work on it, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you know. So as soon as it steps outside, it becomes, as we call it, the bastard child of egress. Out of sight, out of mind. Let's hope it goes back in a hole and hides somewhere. But you guys now, in your day-to-day inspections, start making up tags, and it's going to have your city name here. A majority of the time, you're going to put one of these with a zip tie on a fire escape, because when you're walking down, it doesn't have a tag. And when you look at it, you're going to start identifying square head bolts, rivets, which indicate that the thing has been refurbished in its lifetime or never been refurbished in its lifetime. If it has original square hardware, never been refurbished. Is it feasible that something could be out there 50 to 75 years and never had one bolt change on its treads? So minimally, can you throw a yellow on it without a problem? If you look up and you see a dangling tread, what did it just become? A ring. 3-hole punch. You laminate it yourself, so you print these out in your, through Staples or in your own office on colored paper, and then you laminate it with your own laminator. And you have about 50 or 100 of these in your truck all the time or your car. And then whenever you run across a fire escape, you just tag it. Because for the next 3 to 5 years, you're just going to start tagging fire escapes. It's an awareness program that you started. Are you starting an inspection program in your city, or are you starting an awareness program in your city? Which one is going to get less fight back? It's an awareness for who? For the tenants, and for who else?
For the landlord.
And who else? And the firefighters, so that they know the general condition of the fire escape in the as-is condition. So you leave yellows and reds. And when you read, the first thing it says on the yellow, if I'm the landlord of that building, I come and I see a tag that says you can't remove this tag by order of the fire official. It says, number 1, contact fire official, because repair permits, violation fines, and certificates may apply. Number 2, have fire escape inspected. Confidence test by structural engineer, fire escape inspector, with reports, violation identification, and photos. What's the third step? Service and load test. All structural repairs to be done under permit as per report, oversight, and final confidence test. Can you eliminate the load test? Can you eliminate the load test? Otherwise, the word out of your mouth every day is load tested. They say, well, can I do anything else? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, you can. You can spot repair it and load test it. Is there anything else I can do to give you the guarantee and assurances that you need for the tenants and for the firemen? Oh yeah, there is this one other thing. How about you refurbish this 50 to 75-year-old fire escape, which still has all its original hardware, which amazes me that when you swapped out your windows and swapped out your roof, you didn't swap out your fire escape. But that's okay, because steel is very forgiving. But I need that with a structural engineer, oversight, and a permit. You refurbish that fire escape back to a new line in the sand for us. I will not order a load test. How does that sound? Feasible? I'll pass these around back to you so you can take turns looking at what they feel like, what they look like. Guys, with so far in the class that I've taught, this fire escape, Fort Lee, New Jersey, pass or fail, just from the observation. I think so too. I think it failed. So why did the secretary call me and say, hey, can you come down here and look at this fire escape? Because I had a structural engineer's report on this fire escape. And, thank God it's a white one, because I took more photos than you could ever believe, because very rarely you get a white fire escape that has so much rust on it. It became a case study. But the case study on this was this part. Does this look like that sheet of paper that somebody says they got it? The guarantee, right? This is that guarantee letter you're looking for, right? There it is. Put that in the file. Will that save tenants and firemen? Does you putting this letter in a file save a tenant or a fireman? It gives the estate of these people who got hurt or killed somewhere to go to collect a bunch of money, but you still have to put somebody in the ground to collect on that lottery ticket. But this is the letter you can get. I'm not saying that all engineers are bad at what they do, but this is the bastard child of egress. 6 times the work, 1/6 the pay. So you can't get 2, 3, 5 grand for this inspection, right? Nobody's been looking at this for 75 years. Why all of a sudden someone's going to charge me 5 grand to look at my fire escape? Because that's what most engineers like. They do a foundation investigation, 5 grand, 10 grand. Building structural wall, blah blah blah, 5 grand, 10 grand. Bridge, something or other is 25 grand. Fire escape, dude, you can barely get $300 to $500. So he wrote this letter. You know what he wants? He said, at the steel door, fix the door. Number 2, there's some platform straps that are bent, unbend them. Fix one tread and then give the fire escape a scrape of paint. Look at my report. Treads are fallen. Gussets, stringer gussets fully blown out with the rust. Treads on the ground. Channels eaten with rust. He gave you any photographs? Because had he said and sent this, hey, the fire escape is in good condition, a couple things I need to fix. By the way, there's about 100 photos of the entire fire escape. And you started looking at these photos, would you question this guy? So do any structural engineers provide you with photographs of their inspection of a fire escape? Never. Because had you seen the photographs, you would have freaked out. So guess what you demand of every inspection of a fire escape, so you don't have to go down there and check it out? A report. The report must carry what? Photographs. It says that on the confidence test. You must provide me with a report with photographs so that you and I can have discussions. You in your office, me in my office, and we can talk about what? The fire escape problem. Because right now, who has to convince you out of a load test? The owner or the structural engineer? Because every fire escape you're going to step on, you want the word guarantee, and the only one, right now, the only guarantee you're getting is coming from what? There's only 2 options to get you guaranteed. Number 1 is the ugly word, it's called load test. Is there any other options? Yes, there is. Spot repair and load test. What's my third option? Refurbishment. Under the guide of who? Who's going to babysit this thing all the way through to the end and still give you a signature guarantee signed letter? The structural engineer. So who's going to oversee the permit process? Who's going to oversee who's going to go there 3 to 5 visits while the thing is being repaired? You? You got time to babysit this thing? Because you got a guarantee. You say, dude, you don't want to spend. The engineer says, dude, what are you crazy? I don't got time to go down there 3 times and look at this fire escape and make sure the guy's doing it right. Gives you all that shit. Fine. Fix it whatever way you want, and I'll see you on the day of the load test. Right? Keep pulling out the trump cards. Oh, really? You really don't care about the tenant, all my firemen that are going to be showing up? Do whatever you want to it. Tell me what day of the load test. I want to be there. And if it passes the load test, we'll do it again in 5 years' time. How's that going to carry? Here's a load test, or criteria. California, this is all I have to fill out in California. I have to fill out this form. This is for sprinklers, alarms, for everything. And I have to describe what I'm inspecting, and then I have to do a little write-up. I found that inadequate. So I started making up, there was no confidence test in the nation, so I created one. So every confidence test you find in the nation, I created it because it didn't exist. And it has critical questions on there. Okay? And the questions that you have in your confidence test that I showed you in your book came from these questions. There's a structural review and there's a general review. Yes, no questions. Not opinions. I don't want your opinion letter anymore. Is all the connections free of internal rust? Yes or no? Is the cantilever ladders, the balanced cantilevers in the ladders, do they drop 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground and stay down? Are all catwalks continuous over all roofs to a public way? It's all questions right there. The guy answers yes. Did you verify the connection into the building that is 75 years old, or did you just duplicate it to avoid having to verify that for me? Otherwise, give me a load test. You don't want to do all that stuff? Give me a load test. Fix it. Don't just load test it as is. If I get it on the day of load test and I got rust in the connections and I got that, I said, dude, what are you doing? I'm going to load test it. No, you're not. For a load test, minimally, you got to spot repair it, then load test it. Because the only reason I'm letting you load test it is because all the repairs were done, and all I'm really load testing it for is because every bolt is old. It's 50 to 75 years. It's original hardware. That's the only reason you're load testing it, and because the load test is going to verify the connection into the wall. Because if it passes, everybody's happy. If it fails, I got fire escape and wall on the ground, and everybody jumping up and down. And it's a circus. We're going to get videotape. We'll get the local news station down here, and this would be great. That's all the load test is going to tell me. It either passes beautifully with flying colors, or there's pieces on the ground that we're all laughing about. Otherwise, there is refurbishment. I think it's about time we refurbish some of these 50, 75, 100-year-old fire escapes. I think it's time. You guys don't have 100-year-old hoses on your trucks, do you? You know what I'm saying? So, even though they work though, right? You can have some of these refurbished museum pieces that have the hoses from way back when, and you throw water through there, it will hold. Some of them won't though. Do you know which ones? Nobody does. That's why you replace them. You know, you basically, it has a lifetime. Do you think fire escapes were made to last unpainted 50, 75, 100 years? And that's what they've been. So these questions and answers, basically Tacoma, Seattle, Chicago, Texas, we basically created a confidence test, and we put, for whatever city wanted one, we created a confidence test. So the test, the one that we do for you, the one that we have here, and this is Tacoma's, saying yes, no questions. No longer opinion letters. Yes, no questions. And when you read them, it's simple stuff. It's not hard. It's not things you wouldn't expect from an instructional engineer to answer yes, no. So you can avoid the load test. You don't want to answer these questions, dude, then you're just giving me an opinion. Opinions put people in the ground. Tenants or firemen. But the great thing I liked about Tacoma that nobody else did, they also added the 1-year inspection, which I made it part of the, I married Seattle's and Tacoma's. And look at the 3 questions. Bolts and supports are not damaged or rusted. Paint is in good condition. And all moving parts, ladders, stairs, windows, and doors are operable. Sign the name of the owner of the building or the management company. Every year when you walk their building, guess what they hand you? Every year at the bottom in the alleyway, you stand there and you say, go to the top floor, come down your fire escape and hand me this document. You walking it or are they walking it? They are. So they already passed the 5-year structural, but every year from there on, you say, it says right here, paint is in good condition. And you look up. It's getting kind of ratty again. What are you saying? He said good. What do you say? What do you order on them? A load test? No. That's every 5 years, right? What do you order them to do? Maintenance. Keep it painted, dude. Because right now I'm not going to accept this document. So minimally go do some spot painting. Spot paint all this rust. Every connection we repair, as a standard industry guideline, you open it up, you prime it in between the two, get all the rust out. Before you close it, what do you put in there? What would make sense? Silicone? 50-year silicone? Then you put the piece back together, tighten the bolts, run your finger around the end. What do you got? A sealed connection? You think you're going to have to fix that in 50 years' time? Never. You'll replace the fire escape before you'll ever fix that connection again. Now it's truly, after the fire escape has been refurbished and sealed with 50-year silicone at every connection, I mean every major and minor connection gets sealed, what's that client have for the rest of his lifetime in that building? Paint problems. Now you can truly write scrape paints the rest of your life, but here's what a tag looks like in Seattle. 19 inches wide, 11 inches high. But it's yellows, reds. See the company name, who's ever doing the thing? See the year, 2007, see the next year, 2012? See that? It needs to be red. I think it's okay. So I think we need to make it so you can print it out of your machine. But Staples prints these out for them, so you have to actually call Staples, give them a building address, and then, or you can do this thing, you know, you can start putting in, you know, the little thing that you type on, and the little piece of tape comes out. Professionally, it should be, you know, you can either handwrite it in, you can have blanks, and you handwrite it in with marker, and some of these tags are actual plastic, resistant to weather, going to last at least 5 years. My question to you in the middle of the night, if a fireman showed up, could you see those tags? Not a problem? No, those tags before, the yellow and the red, is the first thing a fireman looks for. Can they see them if they're 7 to 10 feet permanently affixed to the building or the fire escape? And it's colored. We really care about the date. Those you see during the day. What's the main purpose of a red, a yellow, or a white tag? It's color. To tell you what? If it's white, it's all right. Yellow, proceed with caution. You can still use it to a certain degree, but that yellow is going to get fixed very soon. If it's red, that building's not supposed to be occupied anyway. This is rust at a detention center, a youth detention center. So if the sentence doesn't get you, what else could get you? It's all rust underneath that you couldn't see. Now, you guys have gone up and down fire escapes. Now, from my cases that I had to work with a metallurgist who told me, nationwide, to grow a 1/4 inch, and you should write this down, 1/4 inch of rust, it takes 25 years of normal weather. To grow 1/2 inch of rust, it's almost 50 years of growth, unchecked. So every 1/4 takes about 25 years to grow that much rust. This rusty tread, how many years? This rusty tread on a school, how many years? Right? And that has children up and down it every day, right? But now, here's the problem that if you start walking these fire escapes, and you're going to use your eyeballs from the street from now on, you're going to look out a window, you're not going to step on these fire escapes anymore because they're dangerous. Let the structural engineer or the fire escape inspector do his job and tell you how dangerous it is. You are looking for original hardware and you're looking for expansion and rust. As soon as you see that, you've got a violation. Don't get on it. You can see all those from the ground. And this is what you have to avoid. Because when you have a fire escape tread that's this bad, and believe me, it doesn't have to get to 1/2 inch, and you're going up it or you're coming down unknowingly, this is what occurs. This is a 3-pound hammer test for our safety.
Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to stay down here so I don't get hurt.
Okay? So if you go up and down these fire escapes and there's a tread, if you're going down and your foot goes through, you're going to snap your knee forward. You ever coming back to work? If you're going up and you fall through and you fall backwards, you're going to hurt yourself. And you may come back to work because when you fall backwards, it's a natural way for the knee to flex. But when when this fire escape locks up your leg and you snap your knee forward, you're not going to be dancing, much less walking correctly. Cantilevers. Take a look at fire escapes. Cantilevers. The main way to keep thieves off your fire escape or off your building was to have a cantilever at the very bottom or a weighted ladder that came down. And these things are usually 12 to 15 feet, 12 to 14 feet off the ground. Primarily so the trucks going down alleyways don't smash into them because most trucks are not built beyond. But let's take a look at some of the things that happen when the fire escape starts to become out of balance. Is this fire escape starting to become out of balance? Because it's supposed to be horizontal, right? Is this fire escape out of balance? Now, if you see that walking down the alleyways, this thing pointing into the sky, does that look like anybody can operate that thing and work with it? So you're going to write me what? A violation. You know how I stop you from writing me a violation? I go to Home Depot, because I called the guy to fix this. He said, oh, it's the whole balance out of whack. You need a release arm on this thing. I got to move all those weights. I get about $2,500 to fix this thing. So the guy goes out to Home Depot and he gets $25 worth of chain, and he ties it over here, and then he pulls it up and ties it over there somewhere. Guess what it's now doing? It's now horizontal. Okay? Now, here's how cantilevers are supposed to work. They're supposed to be when you actuate them, meaning you either release them or you step on the first tread, which means it's so perfectly balanced, it's like a Swiss watch. It's supposed to drop 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground, and stay down. Does that make any sense? Tenants can self-evacuate. You guys arrive. Guess what you have there waiting for you? A fire escape stair on the ground. They used to be 12 feet in the ground, up in the air, down, saying, come on up and help fight the fire. Does that make sense? Okay. So, if all of a sudden it's out of balance, because guess what happens when it snows, and I got heavy accumulation of snow on my perfectly balanced Swiss watch cantilever. It drops at what time? 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning? 3 in the morning, guess who gets a call? The landlord gets a call and says, what? What's the problem? The cantilever is down in the alleyway. Can you come here and Pick it up and put it back up. Well, it's like a fine-tuned Swiss watch. It's so perfectly balanced. It didn't even have a release arm. This one, you just step on the first tread, and automatically she steps all by herself, hitting the ground, and hits the ground and stays down. The guy does this about 2, 3, 5, 50 times. You know what he says? He said, dude, call the local ironwork guy, tell him to come over here and put some weight where? On the back. Oh, but if you put weight on the back, this thing's going to do this, because it's like a Swiss watch. Oh, no, no, no. Take a chain, put it there, and tie it off, and put some weight on the back. So now, and this doesn't have a release arm, if I had a release arm, now it's already weighted the other way. As soon as you let it go, it weighs about 25 pounds more. You release it, it drops 2 to 3 feet per second, hits the ground, stays down, right? I'll show you one that's actually going to get released. But now let me show you the story that's going to come. You got a fire escape that if it's balanced backwards, and they put a little weight or a lot of weight in the back. Usually. A lot of weight. So that people can't pull it down as easily. But you come down that fire escape and you're a 150-pound woman, and you got a 50-pound child behind you. Put the kid in front of him behind. Going down the fire escape. Put the kid behind. And you go down the fire escape and you walk. You come down there and you step out 3 treads. Does it go down? You go up 5 treads. Does it go down? Usually between 5 and 8 treads. You're already halfway. And as soon as your weight counteracts the whole thing, guess what this thing is doing? It's giving you a nice ride now. Is it 2 to 3 feet per second or 5 to 10 feet per second? 5 to 10 feet per second, it slams the ground, and it does what to the mother? But she holds on. Thank God she held on. She's got good hands. So she slams, she starts crying, the baby starts crying, she's freaked out because this thing just hit the ground violently. She held on, waited back, everybody's now crying and screaming, and she proceeds down the rest of the stair. And as soon as she gets to that last stair right there, child behind her, she takes 150 pounds off the fire escape, what happens? Baby goes up 12 feet in the air, which is, plus minus that. And she goes, hey, jump to the 6-year-old or 8-year-old, even 12-year-old. Jump. Kid's doing what? Kid's crying, it's frantic, mother's screaming. Screaming, there's a fire in the building. It's an alleyway. And the mother says, that's my kid. She runs down the alleyway to the front of the building to do what?
Go back in and come back out.
Go back in. That's a good thing to do, right? Does she have her, she needs to open up that front door. Keys. Does she have her keys in her nightgown? Right. So she's looking around, she's ready to whip a chair or a barrel through the front glass of the place. Does she have keys to get back in her apartment? Is she thinking about this at all while she's doing this? Just before she's ready to whip that trash barrel through the front glass, who shows up? You guys do. You guys will say, well, hey, lady, what are you doing? What's up? Oh, my kid, she's screaming and crying in the back alley. You guys start running down the alleyway. And you as a fireman, what do you say to the kid? Jump. The kid goes, hey, listen, I don't jump for my mother, and I ain't jumping for you. So now all of a sudden you have to go back to your truck and get what? A ladder or the pole to go up and do what?
Pull the stairs.
Grab the stairs and pull it down. And you pull the stairs down, put your foot on it, and you reunite the mother with the kid. Now, can you take your foot away? Because if you take your foot away, what's going to happen? You got all these firemen starting to show up. What do you need on that fire escape? You are the weight. You have a 6-man team. Now you have a 5-man team because one guy's doing what? He's a counterweight. So does that make sense? Cantilevers are supposed to be released. And they drop to the ground, stay down, hit the ground, drop 2 to 3 feet per second. There's just a lot of background noise. But basically, we're showing you what this is on a big commercial building. And there's a release arm there. Now, it's supposed to be in somewhere where you can basically trap the weight. The nose of this weighs 25 to 50 pounds more than the counterbalance. So, somebody comes down, there's a piece of the cantilever, that's where it locks into the place, right? And as soon as you get there and you release it, watch. You release it, it drops 2 to 3 feet per second. hits the ground violently, it'll probably hit it once, 2 or 3 times, and stays down. And it just shakes and rattles and rolls. So how often can you drop cantilevers in the lifetime of a building? You want to do this a lot of times? So you got to be careful, because in case somebody's going to use that fire escape to work on the building, they're going to smash that fire escape to death. Trash trucks, but now cement trucks, they're all at the 14-foot range. I just happened to be there, this wasn't planned, and here all of a sudden coming down the alleyway, because this is a very major, busy alleyway, is a trash truck. Now, welcome to Firescape Services. We provide inspections and certifications, repairs, and load tests to remove violations in your area and nationwide. So whether you're an inspector or whether you're somebody, you have your own home, you have your own building, the first thing is the law is very clear. It must be structurally sound and must be kept painted. So is the fire escape painted or is it not painted? And does it have more paint than rust or more rust than paint? So I can just look at this fire escape and say that I have evidence right now that there's more rust than paint on this fire escape. So immediately, if you were to call an inspector out here, the law doesn't allow him to pass this fire escape simply because it has more rust than paint. And structural means that if the fire escape is 50 to 75 years old, when any inspector is looking at it, he's got to see some evidence of maintenance. And maintenance means that I have to see a change in bolts, I have to see a change in rivets, I have to see some new hardware. Because when I go up to a fire escape, I see nothing but original hardware. That hardware is 50 to 75 years old. It's been out in the weather 50 to 75 years, and it's just impossible for not one of those rivets, one of those bolts to be changed in 50 to 75 years. And whenever that occurs, what I have is a fire escape that somebody's been constantly painting, but they've never done anything structurally to it. So now that makes the entire fire escape pretty much suspect. So now I have to be careful as to what I'm looking at to make sure that the structural now, on especially the major structural connections, are in good order. Thank you for watching our video. Please call us today at 800-649-3333 to discuss your fire escape issue with a live inspector or schedule an inspection in your area today. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. We're here in Concord, New Hampshire. We got Ken, the fire official. Yeah. Last name?
Keel.
Keel. And he was just in a class today that we did at the Fire Academy. And now we're going to be basically doing what's called a downtown walk around. We're on the back of South Main, I believe.
It's actually North Main.
We're in the back of North Main, and this is the back, and we're looking at a fire escape. So if you want to look at this, you got taught a class. Fire escapes rot from the inside out or the outside in?
Inside out.
So you're looking at this fire escape, and somebody has let it rot and rust 100%, right? That one and this one.
Oh yeah.
So does that in any way compromise any and all connections?
Oh, probably all or
all
majority
of
of them.
Who's going to tell you which ones are good?
Oh, an engineer.
An engineer. So now, with that, we also have a great thing to talk about. Does it look like it has a nice catwalk system up there? It looks like it was Mickey Mouse, some sort of. Does it look like it has a walkway up there made of steel?
Well, you're talking about on
the rooftop, because it looks like it's a staircase to a roof, or it looks like it got Mickey Mouse up there.
Kind of a deck with some kind of rickshaw railings and so forth.
That's questionable. Yeah. And then now let's take a look at it as we get closer, and we're going to concentrate from down here. Can you see any evidence of maintenance? This is a 50 to 75-year-old structure. Do you see any evidence of maintenance?
No.
Any shiny new bolts?
No.
So 50 to 75 years, never a change of one bolt.
Doesn't appear.
Is that possible?
That's possible. Yeah.
No. Is that something that you would expect to be seeing on buildings, or do you expect to see every 25 years, every 50 years, some changes of bolts?
No. I think most people, with the fire escapes, they're out of sight, they're out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. So now, if we get closer to it, and I told you in the class, I said. Rivets are 100-year-old plus minus,
right.
So it's 75 to 100, and square heads are usually 50 to 75. What do we have here?
Well, there's a lot of square here. There are some hexes on on some of
Great.
these.
So it looks like they came in and they changed out some bolts.
Looks like some bolts have been changed here because now we're riveted up
We're
there.
back to rivets. That's great. So now let's take a look at this. Let's do some investigation. So we have rivets. We have squares. Does it continue to the ground?
No.
Is it legal?
I think it's within 8 feet of the ground, I believe.
If you have within 8 feet, so people can actually jump.
Right.
Is one of your local codes. So you have to double check. Usually it must be continuous to the ground. I would see that normally these get removed for a reason. There was either a cantilever here, or because people were breaking in, they would do this. They would remove this section and just call it a day, but nobody knows. But usually all fire escapes of this size building are continuous to the ground and there is no jump off. Do you see any rust here? This is a good spot right here. You want to get down here, Gary? Look on this side. Look inside this connection and look into the back, and what do you see there?
Oh yeah, you can see the rust is spreading the metal here.
Perfect. How about in the back side? You step back, go here. How about on this side? Come in this side and put your finger in there and see what you see there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of rust
So
inside.
a lot of rust. Let's see if we can find anything that's tying back into the building. This gusset place is showing some expansion from above. You can sort of feel where the rust is getting in there. And who tells you whether these things are good or bad?
It would be the engineer.
The structural engineer or the fire escape engineer.
Yep.
You see a hole there in the wall there. You think any water's getting in there and rusting out that tie back into the building?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
This other one looks pretty tight, but look at that one, it's wide open. So just through natural freeze and thaw, through natural moisture, what's it doing inside? Do you have any pictures, or who would verify that for you?
Oh, you'd have to have the engineer verify.
Verify by opening it up, take out some bricks and opening it up, or what's a better way for you now?
Oh, you can just extend out to one side or the other and put a new support in with new epoxy
duplicate
bolts.
it, no epoxy bolts, keep the originals, seal them up, and give me new connections, and you eliminate the need to verify them, correct?
Right.
And you also start eliminating the need for load test.
Yep.
Now, there's on this fire escape, after you get all the rust out and after you do all the cleaning, what's the couple of ways that you get guarantees from this?
Guarantees?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to, either basically refurbish or
That's one way.
or load test.
No other ways, is there? Can I spot repair it and load test it?
You can spot repair and load test.
Okay. Otherwise, to eliminate the costly load test on such a structure, what's the only thing that will satisfy you on such an old structure?
Well, you're gonna have to refurbish.
Refurbish. Let's take a look at this fire escape, and then we can peek up looking at this one some more. What's happening here? What's this starting to show you?
Oh, lots of rust on these on these steps.
So,
and it's actually rusted through at the bottom.
So do fire escapes rust from the outside in or the inside out?
Inside out.
So is this showing this much rust? You're expecting worse underneath, right?
I would imagine.
A lot of
so,
these
yeah.
get salt and sand, and what happens with that salt and sand when you add moisture, such as water and ice and snow?
It eats metal.
So let's go below this, because this is not a very old fire escape, believe it or not. It's not that old. But when we come underneath here, what do we start to see? Now, your code, the NFPA says that you have to be satisfied that there's strength here. Are you satisfied that there's strength here, or is some of this connection suspect? Especially when you look up there, you got all the rusty tiers coming down?
Yep, you've got a lot of suspect here.
Okay, so all you need right now is a structural engineer to come in and spot repair it and fully load test it, or you can have that structural engineer basically refurbish this, replace certain components that are rotted away, seal up this thing, and sometimes on these you can actually put the rubber, that outside rubber, to stop the water from getting to the steel, but still give people the traction they need to get out of here.
Right, because that's another thing that's required is your tread has to be non-slip.
Let's take a look at these fire escapes here, because you pretty much, do you have any question about the rest of the fire escape going up, or is it all?
I would classify it all the same as this.
Yes. Even though they did some spot repair here and there, you basically can identify all the way up that it's all original hardware. The gussets are all original hardware. And if you zoom up there, Gary, to this particular platform, you can zoom in on all the original gussets and all the original rivets and stuff like that. So, and this one over here also has a cover too, but that doesn't have, the wind still blows in sideways and does its thing. So let's take a peek at that one down there, because that is a fire escape that doesn't come to the ground, and it looks like it has some damage. So right from here, you see the lower platform?
Yeah.
And it's damaged by a truck.
It looks like it has been.
So when it's damaged by a truck, is that a standard repair or is that life safety?
Would be life safety.
So we don't know if this is an active building or not, but you'll tell us. But the fact that a truck hit it has basically compromised the entire structure, not only for the tenants inside, but should your fireman ever choose to use this to help in any situation here. So let's see how bad the damage was. And by the way, are you aware that before you can return anything to service, you must fix the entire system? You can't just fix one thing, you have to certify. So this is actually what's called the fire escape lottery ticket, meaning if they know what truck hit it, they get it fixed for free. If they don't know what truck hit it, they have insurance for hit and run. So they get it fixed. So this is not really can they afford to fix it. The insurance is going to fix it anyway because we have a life safety issue here. So look how severe the damage was on here. And is this a supported bracket or a supported platform or supported stairs in any way?
Well, it definitely supports that platform.
But is it supported now?
Not very well.
So this is a life safety issue. This is a red.
Of course.
Look at all the cement issues that got smashed away. Now, with that step, if this wasn't an issue for us, now we step back and say, okay, let's look at this as just a regular structure that you walked under. Must be kept painted, must be structurally sound.
Yeah.
Is it painted?
Oh no.
To let this much rust, to eat up all your paint, how many years of neglect?
I'm trying to remember what you said.
25?
25,
At least 25 years, right? Any original, we were looking for original hardware or change or evidence of maintenance. Any shiny bolts anywhere?
No, it looks like rivets.
Rivets, which means it's an older
square bolts.
Some squares up on the tops, yeah. And the tie-ins are metal with rivets. So, and tell me a little bit about in class. You learned about all these rusty tiers coming down. What's this an indication? This much rusty tiers, or we call it also dragon tiers.
Right. That indicates that where the support enters the building, it's rusting inside the wall.
And it has to
behind the facade.
Behind the facade, and basically it's leaking out and proving to you that the connections into the wall. Suspect or not?
Oh yeah. Very.
So with all that being said, now here you have a structure that somebody will come in here. If you wrote a scrape paint violation, guess what they would do to this fire escape before you showed up again?
They tank.
So you write a violation that says what words?
It needs
repaired,
painted, and tested.
Tested. And when somebody calls you up and says, "Hey Ken, what do you mean by repair?"
Well, when the engineer identifies the areas that need repaired on his report, that's what.
Okay. What do you mean by paint?
Means that all of the metal has to be painted and all of the joints.
As per the EPA guidelines. So if you have lead on this, that's another issue.
Right.
Make sure you don't let any of that paint chips get back into the building. What's
correct.
test mean?
Why, load test.
So you, after I repair, you still want me to load test it?
I do, unless the whole unit has been refurbished.
Ah, so if I refurbish this fire escape, but this is not too big of a thing. So you want me to change every tread bolt,
right?
Every support rivet,
right?
Every rail connection, major connections only,
right?
And then the tiebacks into the building, I got to repack the ones that are there, but then next to it, you want me to put an epoxy bolt or duplicate of it.
Right.
I don't have to load test?
No.
So that crazy money I would spend on load test, you say I could spend it on the fire escape and actually use it to repair and paint it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. After I refurbish my fire escape, when's the next time you're going to ask me for a load test?
Probably about, was it 5 years?
That's
every 5 years for existing.
Right. But it's every 25 years. If you refurbish, on average, most people will not ask for a load test for another 25 years.
Right.
And then it's at the consideration of the inspector. Who do I have to satisfy? Even 25 years from now, whether or not a load test should be ordered. Who do I have to satisfy?
As far as it would be the AHJ.
Yeah.
Right.
So right now you're looking at a fire escape that has some life safety issues. And let me show you one thing that you're going to love. Because somebody came in here, and this thing's been hit several times before. So now, take a look at that one, and do you have evidence that shows it's been through bolted? And that something's coming out of the building and picking up the angles. You see underneath there that rod that came out of the building? In that corner.
Almost looks like a pipe.
Yes, but it comes on, there's a nut on it. So come over here. You see the nut on this side? So it's a bolt that comes from inside the building, picking up the masonry. And see that nut Yep. Comes out and then L's out, and there's the nut right there, right?
Yeah.
And the other side has the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's a traditional old through bolt system, right? Now, this thing's been hit a few times. This is a brand new angle that was put here because it's been hit so many times. Can you tell me whether this angle that was put here is through bolted?
It doesn't look like it. It looks like they've had studs
installed. Yeah, they put in what's called expansion anchors. Are expansion anchors acceptable?
Yeah.
So this one is incorrectly installed because it's been hit several times before.
Right.
What about the other one? Is it properly installed?
It looks like lag bolts.
Right. So is lag bolts acceptable?
Nope.
Nope. And if you look over here, if you look straight up, what's left of that pin, you know, the pin that looks like the other one?
Right.
It looks like it's sheared right at the building wall.
Yes, it does.
Okay?
Yeah.
So this whole platform now, is it safe for tenants or your firemen to hang out and have a smoke?
Oh, no.
So we got a life safety issue here.
Yeah.
Okay? So these are the kind of things, but the only one thing that's a good thing here is that this is not a fire escape that you found that had problems like that one. This is one that has problems and got hit by something, which means an insurance company will resolve this matter for either no money because they say it was a trash truck, the waste management truck, we know exactly what license number and everything was.
Right.
Or it was a hit and run and my insurance company with a $2,000 deductible or $5,000 deductible is gonna fix this fire escape.
Right.
It still gets fixed on the fact that it got hit. Because now I have to refurbish, and this is a great thing. Do I just fix this under my insurance, or in order to bring it back into operation?
You have to do the whole system.
And your requirement here is low tested or full refurb.
Right.
So for this one hit, what's he going to get done?
Refurbished.
It's going to get refurbished, and who pays for it?
Probably their insurance.
Their insurance company.
Insurance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. We're here in Concord, and we're going to go now look at a couple of fire escapes on there.
Okie dokie.